life. Okay. I want to talk to you kids today about the 7 vital questions of life. The 7 vital questions of life. Do you know what vital is? No. Okay. Some people don't know. So let me reconstruct that. Let me say that in a different way. Let me call it the 7 most important questions of life. Is that much clearer now? 7 most important questions of life. Let me even try to make it easier for you. So 7 most important questions of life, or you could say 7 questions that every person must answer to be fulfilled in life. 7 questions every person must answer to be fulfilled in life. You know what it means to be fulfilled? Okay. You remember the first day that we spoke? And I asked most of you what you are here for. And most of you said you want to find out why you are here and what you are here for. So this is the beginning of that answer. To help you answer that question, why you are here in the world, what for, that's why you must be aware of these 7 crucial questions of life. Now, it might surprise you, but the truth is, a lot of adults have not answered these questions. There are a lot of people who are living in this world who are your teachers or your parents who still don't have answers to these questions. To make it worse, some of them, maybe like 80% of the people in the world, have never even come across these questions. Talk less of answering them. So most people in our world have never heard of the questions that I'm about to ask you today, of the topic that I'm about to talk to you about. So you better wake up and really be serious about today's class, because you might not have the second opportunity to hear it unless you take it serious. You could go throughout your life and not discover the answer to these questions and not even hear about them. Now, then the question comes to your mind that then why does it matter? At least people somehow exist and make it and live without answering the question. So if 80% of the world is living without having answers to these questions, maybe I could as well get by. Good idea, good thought. But you see, one thing with life is, it's not just about living, but about the quality of life. How many of you know that dogs are living too? But they don't sleep on your bed, isn't it? They sleep on the floor. Well, there are some people who are living just like dogs are living, maybe worse than dogs. And so a lot of things are living. But it's not about living that matters. It's about what you are making of that life. Have you ever heard of people committing suicide? Yeah. Well, they were alive before they decided to commit suicide. And do you know the reason why they commit suicide? Because they don't like the life they are living. And you know the reason why people live like dogs or like animals or like pigs or like cats because they have not answered these questions. You want to know the reason why people want to kill themselves and take their lives and die? Most of the time, of course, there are situations where people are traumatic, or they got trauma, or they got some mental situation, or they got depression. But most of the time, it's because they've not answered these questions. These 7 questions. Okay? Let me ask you another question. Have you ever heard of people, or have you ever heard of the word happy? You heard of the word happy? Have you ever experienced happiness? Yes. Okay. So if there is happiness, do you know that there is the opposite of happiness? What is the opposite of happiness? Sadness or unhappy? Yeah? Okay. Well, people can live in the world and not know these questions and not answer the questions, but they will not be happy. They will have unhappiness. Not happiness, but unhappiness. So, which one do you want to have in your life? You want to have happiness or unhappiness? I can't hear your answers. Happiness? You think happiness is better than unhappiness? Yes. So you want happiness? Yes. Well, I assure you that these 7 questions will definitely help you to find out about happiness and how to be happy in life. Also, I told you that a lot of people live like animals, and they are alive just like animals are alive, but they are not doing too much better than the animals. Which one do you want to have? You want to live an animal life, or you want to live a human life? Human life. Well, that's why you will need these questions. To not just to be known by you, but to also be answered. Because many of you have been having less sleep this week than you've ever had in your life before. So I'm going to make this session very practical for us. So many times I'm going to ask you to stand up. Sometimes I'm going to ask you to talk. But I'm going to be making you to be involved in this teaching today so that you don't go to bed on me. So 7 questions, 7 vital questions of life, of 7 questions that every human being must answer to live a fulfilled life. So the first of those questions is, who am I? I wrote a whole book on that. Who am I? Who am I? Anybody has ever seen my book? Who am I? You've seen it before? Okay. So, what is the first question I said is the most important question? Who am I? Who am I? Not all of you said it. 2 of you answered. Who was the first question I said is the most important question? Who am I? So let me go. Before I begin to explain that to you, let's start from you. Let me start by asking you, what do I mean by who am I? What does that question mean? Does anybody want to attempt to answer the question? Who am I? Okay. What's your name again? Joy. Come here, Joy. You are the active Joy. Energetic, brilliant. Yeah, come on here. Who am I? Yes, that's it.
Who am I is the question, like, what kind of person are you?
Okay.
And
That's good. What kind of person? Good. You want to help? Okay. Here we go, Sadie. Cindy. Sadie. Okay. Sadie.
Who am I is who you are meant to be in life, who God put you, who you are supposed to be, the purpose of why God put you here on earth.
Brilliant. Let's clap for her. She got it just right. Who am I means what you are supposed to be doing here on earth. Yeah? Anybody wants to help? Anybody wants to give an answer to that? Okay. Fast. So who am I?
Who am I concerns what is my identity, what exactly is the reason for my existence, and what differentiates my existence and my presence here from the presence of every other living thing or every other human. What am I specifically as myself only?
Okay. Yes, you use one word there, which is very crucial. Who am I is the question of identity. Identity. What do you people understand by the word identity? Yes. There's Sydney now. Sydney, similar. I remember Sydney because she was here before. Yes, so identity. What is identity? Yeah. Could have to say thank you.
Identity is basically someone's personality or what somebody looks like or what you use to identify somebody.
Okay. Sydney wants to help you now.
Identity is your physical appearance.
Physical appearance. Okay. Will everybody agree with that? No, not you yet. Let's take someone else.
I think identity is more than like who you are physically. I think it's who you are mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and like how you understand yourself as your own person and how other people can relate to you based on how you think and how you feel and what you do.
Beautiful. Okay, anybody want to contribute to that? What is the question of identity? Yes, please.
Identity is what separates you from everybody else, what's make everyone an individual.
Okay.
Because we're all technically human, we can all be easily separated into categories, but what makes each and every one of us unique and single human personalities, individuals.
Okay, categories like what?
Categories like boys, girls, children, teenagers, adults, elderly, or like whatever job you do. Like they're the workers, or they're the singers, they're the writers.
So your identity is what?
No, that's why we need identity. That categories are not our identity.
Okay.
Identity is what makes every human being individual and separate from the categories. So you can say even though this person is a worker and a girl and dark skinned, you can describe them and everything. That won't be their identity. It's just what we use to recognize them visually. But our identity isn't visual because our physical appearance can change.
Sorry?
Our physical appearance can change and it's always changing, so we're always growing. So identity is more than just physical. And like she said, it's like spiritual, emotional, and everything. But it's what we do, what we're known for, is identity.
Okay.
Like that girl said about purpose.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else want to contribute to that? Oh, that's enough? Okay. So, who am I is a question of identity. But as much as that is correct, let me give you a better definition or a better help in finding out or in actually defining and getting to understand the question of who am I. I said there are 7 most important questions in life, right? The first question is the question of who am I, which is the question of identity. But it's more than the question of identity. It is also the question of self-consciousness. So now let me ask you, what is self-consciousness? Who wants to help me? Who wants to answer that? Okay, take the microphone. Not just identity. On one hand, the question who am I is a question of identity. But to even make it more personal and more explanatory, I'm giving you even a wider, another word, which is the question of identity and self-consciousness. So what is self-consciousness?
Self-consciousness is being aware of yourself being aware of how people look at you, being aware of your state, of your place in where you are, being aware of the amount of impact that you have, being aware of how your decisions affect others, and how much of an influence you have.
Okay. Now, some of the things you said are right, but some of them are not totally right. You said self-consciousness is being aware of yourself. Yes, that's correct. But you also said of how people look at you or think of you. So no, self-consciousness doesn't concern anybody right now. Self-consciousness is about you. I said that you are about to fall asleep, so you come here and let me help you out. You help me illustrate the question. So you didn't have enough sleep, I'm sure, right? Yeah, it's bad. I don't know if they warned you from our home. HMT is not merciful. It's always like that. They don't give you enough sleep. Well, let me help you here. When you're standing, it will be more difficult for you to sleep. So we are standing together. And so the question of self-consciousness is the ability for you to be able to be aware, to live in the awareness of yourself. So you are not flying in the air, you are not sleeping while you are walking, and you are not sleeping while you are eating. You are not sleeping. When I'm talking sleeping, I'm not saying when sleeping physically, like him sleeping just now. But when I say sleeping, I mean you are not sleeping through life. You are not daydreaming. You are not walking unconsciously. You know, we do a lot of things unconsciously. Like, you wake up, you feel like going to the toilet, you go to the toilet, you don't need to think so much about that. You feel like wearing your clothes, you wear your clothes. Those things are things we do automatically, unconsciously. But the question of who am I is a question of identity, but even more than that, it's a question of self-consciousness. That is, you are not just conscious of where you are right now. You are not just conscious of your physical body. You are not just conscious of your physical being, but you go deeper into consciousness of your being, of who you are, why you are here, who brought me here, why am I here, what am I here for, why do I have my hands, why do I have my voice, why do I have my heart, my brain, my legs, why do I have all these things that God has given me? What are they meant for? What am I supposed to be doing with them? Who sent me here? So self-consciousness is to be conscious and ask yourself questions about your existence, about your life, about your destiny, about your mission. So the question of who am I, it is not just who my body, you know, when you know who you are, you will find out who you are in terms of your body. You know your body, that's the easiest part of it. But you also find out who you are in terms of your soul, mental awareness, soul. So who are you in terms of your soul? Then you have to find out who you are in terms of your spirit man. So who you are in terms of your spirit man, that's connected to God. So who am I? I am made in the image and likeness of God. I think you might want to go and sit down because you might want to write some things down. So let me answer your question, who am I? For you to answer the question of who am I, you must be fully awake and fully aware. Nikki, right? Or Kikel, what? Moron KJ. Because Adamoje Tuda Vekadid. No, ni Tuda Damo evu come na to Abeshna. Na. Yeah, so if you are writing something down, whenever you hear the question of who am I, is a question of self-awareness, is a question of identity, and is a question of self-consciousness. So those three words, you want to remember them. So how do you answer those questions of self-awareness, self-consciousness, and identity? How do you answer those three questions? To answer those three questions, you must first of all realize that you, as a person, that we want to find out who you are, who am I, we must first of all start by saying you are a true-in person. You are a true-in person. What that means is that you are three parts. You are in three parts. So you want to write that down. You are in three parts. Number one part is the easy part. That's what you see. That is your body. Yes? So you know you are a girl or you are a boy. You know you are 10 years old or 15 years old. You know you are 20 years old. That's just the physical part. That's the easy part. You are this tall or your body is changing. You are growing. So that is one thing you want to find out. You want to know about yourself when it comes to who you are. Physical body, then you want to know your name, your parents, where you live and all that. But that's easy. The second part you want to know, the second part of yourself that you want to find out or you want to know is the second part of your body is your soul. Your soul. So who are you on the soul level? Who are you on the soul level? As a soul. What does that entail? The most important part of your soul is your will, your willpower. You want to write that down as well. Your willpower, willpower. So now, some of you have got to stand up again and tell me what is will and what is willpower. If I say your soul, come. The most important part of you, of your soul, of your soul is your will and your willpower. What is willpower? Can you help me answer that question?
I think it's having power over what you say, basically. Because
look there.
It's basically, I think
it is what?
Having power over what you say.
Speak louder. You must speak louder.
I think willpower is having power over what you say about something or your opinion.
Oh, having power over what you are saying, over your opinion. Okay, I'm interested in knowing Sydney. How do you know that? Where did you get that from? How do you know that? You don't know. If you don't know how you know that answer, maybe it's not the right answer after all. But it's part of it. It's part of it. But it's just interesting to me to know. But let me give you a high five first. You know why? For being the most active today. But you must not lose it. You must not lose it. And your sister too. Because some of that people have not spoken yet. And if you are not getting up to speak, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have you stand. And you're going to stand the whole day until you speak. Yes. I'm going to do that. All of you that are not speaking, I'm going to have you stand up and begin to, until you speak, you will not sit down. So you will be standing up the whole day today. You are in trouble, all of you. Because Sydney is giving you such an example. Sydney and Casey. Sadie. Okay. Sydney and Sadie are really giving you a run for your money, all of you. So I'm going to make all of you pay for it. Because they shouldn't be the only ones answering the questions too, because they are not the only participants of this event. So thank you so much, Sydney. You can sit down now. So before I ask you, all of you, to stand, and you will not be able to sit down until you answer, maybe you want to save yourself first. Okay? Come on now.
I think willpower is your ability to motivate yourself and or restrict yourself from doing something or saying something. So, for instance...
Okay, maybe I'm asking the question wrong. Okay, maybe you would like to give the definition of will. What is the will or willpower? Okay.
Will is it's kind of like your self-motivation in a sense. So I'm trying to see how I can put it into words, but it's kind of like how...
It's like you know it, yeah, but you don't know how to describe it.
Yeah. Your will is like your determination to do something, and how is like your motivation to do it, and then your willpower comes into play to like make you do or not make you do that thing.
Okay. I think Abiola would like to help, no? Yeah? You would like to? Okay, come on.
So willpower, I think, is the your driving force, what helps you keep going in tough times, like in times of temptation. When, say, okay, let's give the example of being on a diet, because so you want to say there's your mom's cooking, and you know you can't have it. But you go in the kitchen and everyone's eating it, and there's multiple people and everyone's eating it, and they're like, oh, you should have some, but you know you're on the diet. Your will is what helps you stay strong in that situation, and it's what determines whether you give up or not. That's what it is for me.
Okay, thank you. Anybody wants to contribute, please? What's your own name? Yemisi. Emisi. Come. Huh? Enisi? Okay.
I think your willpower might be the determination to do something.
Okay, the determination. Okay, thank you. All right, I want to get the first timers first. Yeah. You are Joy's sister, right? Yes, please. What's the name? Jeanette, okay.
I think will is related to desires and like what you sort of want, like what you want for yourself and what you want to do in life, what you like wish to accomplish. Yeah.
Okay, not bad. People are trying. Yep. What's your name again?
Esther.
Esther, yes.
Willpower is a choice given to all of us by God, because you can choose to do good, you could choose to do bad. It's nobody forcing you to do something. It's your own choice made by your own decision.
Let's clap for her. Willpower is the power of choice, right? Choice power. Beautiful. That's the best answer so far. Anybody wants to contribute more? Okay.
Willpower is the strength of the mind. It's like if you have a desire, it's the strength of the mind that stops you from derailing yourself or undoing any progress that you've made, and it's what moves you forward. And I think it's mostly in the mind, because people can say whatever, they can put you down, they can really try to discourage you. And even if you don't say anything back, or even if you seem like you're submitting because you keep your mouth shut, in your head, you're still going strong and unwavering. I think, like for example, Jesus a lot, when he didn't reply, when he didn't respond to, and yet sometimes to any accusations, he was just focused and he kept on going strong, and throughout all his trials, tribulations, no matter, even if the Pharisees thought they were winning or they were going to win, he was headstrong and his mind wasn't going to be changed. So I think willpower is the strength of the mind and also determines to how much you want your desire.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Joy wants to talk first.
I think willpower is
like when you want to do something, because God's given us free will, so we can choose what we want to do, and this willpower is like the power to choose.
Brilliant. Whenever you hear willpower, it always has to do with choice. Remember that. Choice. The ability to choose. Okay? Oh, you are true? You don't want to talk yet?
Yes, I think that your will has to do with what you've taken a firm decision to do, and that what I think it kind of involves a lot of things, because lots of people use will as a synonym for desire, but since it's kind of also what defines your, since we're discussing it on a soul level too, I think that sometimes your will can be what drives you towards your passion, or you may have a will concerning your passion. I think your will is like the path that you feel that you're determined to take and that you have to like make.
Okay. Thank you. So let's say that number one, the will is part of your soul. You have the whiteboard. Is it? Can we have it ready? Okay. So, Nicola, principal just about it. Was it that? Huh? Oh yeah. So the willpower is part of your soul. It's connected to your mind and to your heart. It's also connected to your spirit somehow, but it's basically in your mind and in your soul. But your willpower is your ability to take a decision. Your willpower is your ability to take a decision. It is the part of the body, part of you, that enables you to make choices. It enables you to make choices. It enables you to take decisions. Your will is your engine room. Is the engine room of your personality. So when you are asking, who am I? Part of who you are, the centrality of who you are is your will and your willpower.
What does centrality mean?
Personality?
Centrality.
Centrality. What does centrality mean? Centrality means central. Do you know what central means? Yeah. It's the center. It's the center. It's the center part of your body. It's the center part of your body. So, your will, let me now tell you something about the will. Your will is the most important part of you. Your will is more important than your spirit. Your will is more important than your body. Your will is more important than your emotions. Your will is more important than your feelings. So you must know something about your will. Your will is even more important than your intellect. So the greatest power you have on earth is the power of your will. Your willpower is the most important power you have. Yes. It's the most important power you have on earth. No greater power you possess than the power of your will. If you are given $1 million today, it's less powerful than the power of your will, than your willpower. Your willpower is more important than $1 billion. Your willpower is more important than you growing up. Your willpower is more important than your age, your size, your look. It's more important than your nationality. It's more important than your gender. It's more important than what you want to become in life. Your willpower is more important than your children, your future children, your husband, your wife. It's more important than your family. There is nothing more powerful than your willpower. Many people don't know this, and many people have never heard of this before. So because they don't know that the greatest power is in the world is in them, they are looking for that greatest power somewhere else. So many people are busy trying to look for the most important power outside of themselves. So they look for power in Kenny. I think I'm going to ask you to take a chair and come near here and sit here, and you are going to be helping me to write. Yeah, so take your chair and your papers or whatever you have. So you are going to be relocated. So while Kenny is coming, I want to ask you all of you the question. Before this, take a chair.
Oh, sure.
Before you came here today, before you started hearing me now, what did you think was the most important thing in your life? What did you think was the most important thing before I mentioned the willpower? Because if I ask this question from adults also, nobody will tell you that the most important power they have and the most important force they have is willpower. Nobody will tell me that. Most people don't know this. Even most adults don't know this. But you are lucky that you are getting to know this. So I want to ask you, what were you thinking before now was the most important thing?
Important thing because
Purpose.
everybody's saying to be successful in life you need to find your purpose.
Okay.
And
But purpose is not part of your identity right now. You will find it. When you find it, it will become part of your identity. But purpose is something that you have to do. But right now, willpower is already part of you. You know, it's already part of you. Purpose, you discover it in you, and you have to execute it. That's also important. Maybe purpose is the most important thing. But I'm talking about powerful thing. So powerful is more different from important. So what did you think was the most powerful thing in life, or in your life, or in life before now? Yes, please.
Before now, I thought that the most powerful thing in my life was my spiritual walk with God, and like how.
That's important.
Yeah, that's important, but it may not be the
but
most.
what about powerful? So that is the most important thing. But what about the most powerful thing? You want to talk? Oh, anybody? Okay. Yeah, Joy, come. What were you thinking was the most powerful thing before now?
I thought the most powerful thing before now was love.
Was love. Okay, very good. That's a very good answer. Most powerful. What makes it, is it powerful or important?
It's both.
It's both. That's so correct. That's so correct. Yes? Love is one of the most powerful forces in the world. But it's in you, you have it. But do you know that without will and without your willpower, you'll not be able to love? Yes, you will not. And then you said your personal walk with God, right? Is the most powerful thing. That's what you talked before now.
Yeah.
But do you know that without your willpower, you will not be able to take the decision to walk with God? You know, there is a lot of kids, even adults, who grew up knowing God as kids, but because they lost their willpower to pursue God, they actually lose their faith. So that makes willpower more powerful than even your faith in God. Why? Because it is the willpower that will make you to pursue, to get to know God, and to maintain your walk with God. And it's the willpower that will make you to take the right decision always, to believe in God, to keep on worshiping God, and to keep on following Him. Yes, it's important to know God and to have personal relationship. That's one of the most important things in the world. And love is one of the most important things in the world and one of the most powerful things in the world. But what makes willpower more powerful than everything else, what makes it the most important thing, the most powerful thing in the world, is that to believe in God, you still have to do it through the will. To love, you still have to do it through the will. But I want to also find out what are the other things that all of you thought were the most important or the most powerful thing before today. So what were you thinking was the most powerful thing in life or in your life before now? Thank you, girls. Anybody want to contribute to that? What was the most important thing? What were you thinking was the most important thing? Come, please. Judah. The Lion of Judah?
So what I thought was the most powerful thing when I was like little, I used to think it was like I still kind of do, is God.
God.
Yeah. But I think what you're saying, you can like choose, some people choose to love God and some people choose not to. They choose other religions, and it kind of makes sense to me now, because if you didn't have the willpower to want to become a believer, then
you can't.
You can't, no.
Because the willpower is what gives you the ability to even choose to believe in God. God made your willpower in your life even more important than Him. Can you believe that? Your willpower is more important than God. Not more important, more powerful than God. Until you make God your Lord. Until you make God your Lord or your life, your willpower is still the most important decision. Until you submit your will under the power of God. Now, God is more powerful than you and than your willpower, but in your own particular life, you can actually decide through your willpower to reject God or not to believe in God. But if you understand your willpower well and you use your willpower well, you will use your willpower to choose God. But even more important than that, you will use your willpower to submit your own self under God and under the power of God. And it is only when you do that that you really become a believer in God. So you see that the most important or the most powerful power or the most important power that you have in your life, the greatest power that you have, is the power of your will still. You got it right. You got it right. Because it is with your will you choose to believe in God or not to believe in God. Or to choose what religion to believe in. Yeah. It comes through your willpower. Thank you. Very good, Judah. Any other person want to tell us what you thought was the most powerful thing before now?
One thing that I thought was quite powerful was your influence over people, whether good or bad. Because if you have the ability to like influence people in a good way, then that would lead you to like have more, I guess, power in the world and or strength in the world. And even if you're influencing them in a bad way, you would still have power over them, but out of fear that they have for you. So I guess I thought influence and how you treat people would affect the amount of power that you have. And
beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. Very good. Thank you. Any other person want to talk? If nobody wants to talk, then, okay, come on. Jeanette? Yes, please.
Before, I thought the most powerful thing was speech. And
What?
Speech, your voice and like words.
Okay.
Because we got taught that like everything that we have now we got taught that everything that we have now, like the world that we live in, came about because of the word.
Okay.
And so that was what I thought was the
God
most.
spoke.
Yeah, that was what I thought was the most powerful, because he sent his word forth, and then everything was created and stuff.
What about people who are deaf or dumb?
That's true.
What do you say about those? Because they cannot even utter any word. But do you know that people who are dumb, are deaf and dumb, they have will.
Yeah.
They don't have words, but they have will. So even in their lives, the will is still the most powerful. The word is powerful because God is the word and the word is God. But that is like God is the most powerful. But in our lives, even to speak what word to speak, you still need your willpower. For example, you came out now, Jeanette, to speak. That takes your willpower for you to even come out to open your mouth and talk. So to even release the word and speak the word is still the willpower. You did it. Thank you for that. Okay, now I'm going to ask you, Kenny, to do something. You look at those, what do you call them? Crayons or pen or markers? Okay, what do you call them? Whiteboard marker. You see those whiteboard markers? I'm going to be describing some things, so you use your creativity to write them in a way that will make it clear to everybody. So I'm going to be we are talking about 7 things, but I'm going to take them one by one. So the 7 questions of life, the 7 most vital questions of life. The first one we are dealing with, which we need a board for, when we finish it, we'll go to the second one, is who am I? So you need to, first of all, hear me first. So who am I needs to be big enough to be the topic of the day. Of now. Yeah, you can take it. So after who am I, under who am I, you need to write 3 things. It's because who am I, maybe you need to put an arrow, but you will say what you need to do. But we need to write 3 things, like maybe I shouldn't give you what to write first, but I will give you what to write later. So after those 3 things, then that is the definition of who am I. Then after that, those 3 points I'm going to give you, I'm also going to give you, related to everything, to who am I, I'm going to give you other 3 things. Okay, all coming from who am I. But those 3 things remain, these other 3 things remain. Then out of those second 3 things that I give you, then we begin to have outlets. Things growing out, branches going out from those 3 things, but especially from one. Especially from one out of the 3. So everything is under who am I. Okay, so let's start. How will you write the first who am I? The great who am I. And what color? That is also part of education. But then the who am I has to be clear enough for everybody to see what's going on and to read. And then that who am I still has to be related to everything we'll be talking about later. Okay? Now, huh? Yeah? You are saying yes to that? Okay. Now, the next three things you are going to write under that is the three things that tell us about not the description of who I am. Number one, identity. They also have to be big enough for everybody to see what we are talking about. Identity. Two, self-consciousness. Three, self-identity. Is it, if I said self-identity? Identity, no, I said that. Self-awareness. You might say self-identity, actually, instead of just identity. Add self on top of the identity. I'm getting concerned about the job that Kenny is doing. And what is giving me concern about it is, I'm afraid he's more concerned about the beauty and the artistry of the thing than he's concerned about the... Huh? So he said he's just being creative, but I'm very more concerned about it being visible to everybody. Did you guys see it? It might be too beautiful for people to see. Ooh, you gave the wrong one. What did you do? No, okay. Then don't use that anymore. Use the other one. This is not whiteboard Parker you gave. It's not that it's too black. It's not for whiteboard.
I mean, there is the one for the whiteboard.
Don't give excuses. You gave the wrong one.
At least we know that.
We know that. There is no excuse that you can give that justifies it. You are supposed to try it out before you gave it to him.
Maybe you can draw over it with the whiteboard marker.
You think so? Okay, you go and do it. It's like you've done it before. I'm not sure of that theory. It is working, yeah. He said kind of. Huh?
Hand sanitizer and toothpaste also.
Toothpaste? Okay, just let it be. We'll do that afterwards. Yeah. We'll do that afterwards. So the next three things we are going to write, let him continue his job. Just leave out that black one out of it. Make the board look straight so that people will be able to see it, yeah. So the next thing we want to write is, when we're talking about who am I, we are talking about you, so we need three things. We are talking about your spirit, soul, and body. Those are the next three things.
Through who am I or through self?
No, through who am I. It also covers who am I.
Okay. Now we got blue. We got
There has to be three: spirit, soul, and body. But make sure you write soul in a place where you'll be able to have a lot of outlets from it. So you might want to start with body, spirit, body, and soul, so that then the soul will have a lot of outlets. Now, I think it's making them visible for sure now. That's what I think. No questions. Okay, now when you go to the soul, you need to write a number of things under the soul. 1, willpower. Or maybe just will. Will. Number 2, under the soul, you write intellect. Oh, no, intellect, okay, intellect. Or is it better to just write mind? Just write mind. Intellect might be too big for you there. Mind. Mind. Then after that, you write another word we call emotions. Then after that, you write another word we call feelings. Yes. You have a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you said how willpower,
Look at yeah. Why?
you said how willpower is a very important thing
More powerful, yeah.
and more powerful than some. The thing I got confused about was why God didn't tell us to worship Him with will and only with spirit and truth. And you said willpower is more powerful than spirit.
Beautiful mind. Beautiful girl. Your mind is serious. Your mind is working like a machine. So the question Joy has is, why should I say the will power is more powerful than spirit when actually God said we should worship Him in spirit and truth? So if we are to use spirit, our spirit to worship God, how come will is more powerful than spirit? Who wants to answer that question? You are the one who gave the right answer about the soul before, so.
When you worship God, you worship Him with a full heart. God doesn't want to force us to do against what we don't want to do. So if we worship Him willingly with our own consciousness, knowing that we want to do it ourselves, nobody told us to, it's our own choice, our own decision, that means it's true to Him. And He feels that true worship instead of someone, forcing you to worship and He's not feeling it, you're not feeling it, then there's no point.
Joy, I don't know, Joy, did you get that? That's why will is more powerful. Because it involves your choice, and it involves your consciousness, and it involves your free will, that you freely take the decision to worship God and to worship Him in spirit and in truth, but with your free will. You do that yourself. You say that. You choose to do that rather than just being forced to do it by God or by anybody else. Yeah, so that's good. All right. Now, another question to all of you before I continue my teaching. How will you assess Kenny's work, Kenny's job? It could be better? I think it is Ife who said that. Ade said it. So whoever said it could be better, we'll get her to do it the second half, the second teaching. We will see your own creativity after that. Okay. So one thing that you people have to remember, like I started saying, is that there is nothing more important in life for you to know to be aware of, than to know the fact that actually there is actually no greater power in the world than the power of your will. Can anybody look into? Let's check out in the Bible. I want to check out your Bible knowledge. And I want to ask you this question. I want each one of you to try to find me some biblical examples that proves to us that the will is more important, is the most powerful force in the world. That the will is more important, is more powerful than, more important to you, more powerful in your life than even God. That is even more powerful in your life than, your will is more powerful than God, is more powerful than life, is more powerful than Satan, is more powerful than anything. Any example that you want to use to prove to me that will is the most important thing you have. That your will is the most important thing you have. Anybody wants to be the first one? Joy, come. Because you are not standing. You are supposed to stand up and come. You raise up your hand, but you didn't come. So Joy is going to get the first part.
When Jonah...
When who?
When Jonah chose to disobey God and did not go to Nineveh but went to Tarshish, he chose it Noah chose it with his will.
So even though God instructed Jonah to do one thing, but he actually chose to disregard God's instruction. So you are, as a human being, you have the power to tell God to shut up if you are not smart, if you are foolish. And that's exactly what Jonah did. So you should not be surprised, you kids, when you see people on TV or in your classroom or a professor that says, to hell with God, or damn God, or God shut up. Don't be surprised. Don't be shocked. And don't say, oh, God, but God didn't kill him. He didn't die, so then I could also do anything. No. Just be aware that God gave him that power. God has given all of us the power either to obey him or to even shut him up or to shun him. But when we do, he will not kill you immediately because he's such a loving God. He will give you the benefit of the doubt and he will give you the chance of a lifetime to come to your senses, to come back to your senses. You know, if I had been God, he would have died right there, I might tell you that one. But why is it that God doesn't kill people who offend him or who speak him off immediately? Because he might not kill you right now, but he gives you another 50 years to live, 100 years to live. So you have enough chance and you don't have any excuse to say you couldn't come back to him. So if you still refuse to recognize him after 50 years of your life, then you are justified. He is justified when he sends you to hell. But by not killing you immediately and giving you the chance, Stripping you of any excuses. You don't have an excuse now because he has forgiven you. He didn't touch you. He let you leave. And then you still didn't come back to repent. So Joy, that's a beautiful example. Because Jonah just proved to us that even God doesn't control our will. Even God doesn't. Even God, you know what he does? He uses persuasion. Persuasion to convince us of what he wants us to do. So, I'm talking to you kids now. But I think if your parents were to be here, I would have told them, parents, we as parents too, don't use force to make you do our will. We don't control your will. We don't manipulate your will. We use what? Persuasion. But if you disagree and you are still under 18, somebody said don't say 18, and you are still under their supervision, you disagree with your mother and father, they have the willpower and the authority to make you do something. Why? Who tells me why? Before you are 18. Why do they have the power to make you do something? When you refuse to be persuaded, why will your parents have the power to force you to do something against your will?
Is it because they still have the responsibility to take care of you and they're responsible for you?
Because if they tell you don't jump from that 10th floor and you say, well, I don't agree, I have my willpower, I want to jump, they have the responsibility to go stop you by force. That's how it is with life. Maybe you might not be jumping from 10th floor, 20th floor, but there are a lot of decisions that could ruin your life that you don't know, that you are not aware of. So it is their responsibility to stop you against your will, as long as you are under their supervision. You understand what I'm saying? So, but the best way for parents to convince you is how? Persuasion. Who will go first out of the two? Now, there are two sisters that are competing among themselves. So who goes first? You go first, okay?
One of the examples is when God told Saul to kill every breathing
yes, all the
thing.
Amalekites, yes.
Yeah, but Saul kept all the good and healthy animals for himself, even though he was doing it for the right reasons, to give it to sacrifice for God. He chose to keep it instead of doing what God told him to do.
Which is disobedience. So he chose to do it. I like that word you said. I like your choice of word. He chose to do what he wanted to do rather than what God told him to do. So what does that tell us about willpower?
That God can tell you to do something, but it's your choice whether to listen to him.
Brilliant. Now another question to you, because you are answering so well. So another question is there a consequence, bad consequence, for disobeying God, both in the case of Jonah and in the case of Saul? Are there bad consequences?
Yes, because when God was talking to Saul and God said that because of what he did and didn't carry out his instructions, he wouldn't be king.
So what does that tell me and you? Whenever we disobey God or God's will and choose our will, what happens? Are there going to be bad consequences or not?
Probably depends on the kind of thing you did.
Okay, what do you all think? If we disobey God and choose to neglect or disregard his instructions and do according to the way we wish, Are there going to be bad consequences or not?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes, now you got it. Yes, what will your sister say? What are the examples of to prove that our willpower is the most powerful thing we all have?
In the story of Adam and Eve, when they
Brilliant! I was waiting for that example. The story of
Adam
and Eve, right?
when they made the decision to eat the fruit, even though Eve was tempted, Adam also made the decision to eat the fruit from his wife, and they had consequences, and they were sent out of the Garden of Eden.
Yes, beautiful. Now, that is willpower. So you told us about the willpower of Adam and Eve, but you said Adam still had to make that choice to listen to his wife. What about God? Who do they listen to? Do they obey God, or they chose to disobey God?
They chose to disobey God.
They chose to disobey God. Okay. Do they have the power to disobey God?
Yes.
Yes. That is how powerful our will is. Now, and you said there are bad consequences. So what happens to us when we choose to do what we want rather than what God says?
God forgives us, but we still have to make up for the bad things we did.
Oh, beautiful. God always forgives us when we ask for forgiveness, but sometimes there are still consequences, or there's restitution, making up for the bad things that we have done. Beautiful. You want to be the nice one? Okay.
I think I have like so many examples, but the one I'm going to say is Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, when he was asking God to take away the cup, but then he still, even though it was really, he knew the pain he was going to go through, but then he still chose to go forward with it because he knew that the end would be better than the pain that he would suffer. So I think that's just an example of how even Jesus as God, and he still went through all the human struggles of like struggling with what he wanted to do and what he didn't want to do, and he still chose to go through with it because he knew the benefit that would have later on.
Yeah, but that is the opposite example, which is the brilliant one. Because Jesus was actually saying the flesh was weak, but the spirit was willing, but his flesh was weak. Which means all of us are going to face. If Jesus, the Son of God, the most powerful person that ever lived, and is the Son of God, if he faced the dilemma and the conflict of struggles between his will and his spirit, doesn't that mean that we all will face the same challenge?
Yeah, we will.
You think so? Okay, but why didn't his spirit take the decision to obey God? Why didn't he use his spirit? Because he said the spirit was willing, but yet he was struggling for a decision. Why didn't he just use his spirit? Just because this is a very good example we are using now, Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, to prove that the will is more powerful than the spirit. Because the spirit was willing, yet he couldn't go ahead, and he couldn't do it. Why? Because even though the spirit was willing, he needed the willpower. He needed the agreement of the will for him to do it. So there are going to be a lot of times when your spirit, when you know in your mind the right thing to do, you're going to know the right thing to do, and maybe your spirit man is willing to do it, but you might not have the power, the willpower, or you might not still have to get the agreement of your will to be able to take that decision. Yeah. Would you like to comment on that?
I think it is interesting how he didn't just go through with what his spirit was willing, but I think it's because there was still a choice that he had to make himself.
Yeah.
Like, even though, there are many times where we want to, like, talk to someone about God, or we want to, like, serve or do something, but we ourselves have that, like, doubt or
challenge,
fear.
Yeah.
So I think even though Jesus could have easily just gone through with it without feeling anything. He still had a choice to make, and he could have easily said, I'm not going to do this. But because he could see ahead of the present pain that he was feeling and the present struggle of the situation he was in, he was able to decide for himself that he would go through it for the benefit of everyone else.
Where is the noise coming from? We need to reduce the noise or stop it. So, yeah, beautiful. So, Jesus' spirit was willing. So, he was willing, no doubt about it. There will be, and that's an example for us, that there will be a lot of situations when we will know the right thing to do, but we still need the willpower. Because it is our will that takes the decision. The will is more powerful than our knowledge. Our will is more powerful than our spirit. Because in the case of Jesus, he said the spirit was willing, but yet he was finding it tough to take the decision. Yeah, but the good thing is, Jesus also showed us an example that even though he found it difficult to do, he still did it. He still did the right thing. And that's what we need to learn to do. We need to develop our willpower to always do what God wants and what is according to the truth, even though our flesh might be weak or we might find things difficult to do. And that is another lesson we have to learn about the willpower here. The will and the soul is what stands in between the spirit and the flesh. You remember Jesus said, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So what is in between them? What is in between them is?
The soul and the mind.
The soul, the mind, and the willpower. So even though the spirit was willing, the flesh was weak, but the soul takes the decision. That is why the soul and primarily the will is the most important thing you possess, is the most important thing you have. Nothing is more important than your willpower. Nothing is more important than your soul. So, how many of you come from Christian homes, Christian families? Raise your hands. Okay. Have you ever heard that your spirit is the most important thing you have? You never heard of that? Well, many people think that as Christians, that our spirit is the most important thing we have. Maybe that is true on one hand, but it's not the most powerful thing we have. It's the most important thing we have because if your spirit is gone, if your spirit is dead, you are through. You are gone. But it's not the most powerful thing because the most powerful thing is the will. Because the will directs your spirit. It's like the will is sitting on the driver's seat. And the spirit is the passenger. But the will is holding the steering and sitting at the passenger seat. So even though the spirit is the owner of the car, but the driver decides where you go to. That's how the willpower is. The will and the soul. So the soul is the most powerful thing we have. It even decides the direction of the spirit. But of course, the spirit is the most important because if you die, then your will dies. Everything dies. But the most powerful is your soul and your willpower. Thank you. Any other person knows some scriptures? Okay, please come. And tell us, what are scriptures that tell us that the will is our most treasured, most powerful possession?
I kind of remember Deuteronomy 28. That's the verse, that's the chapter where God is telling, that's the chapter where the covenant is renewed of the Old Testament. And God is telling Israel that if you obey all my laws, these are all the blessings that come to you. And if you disobey all the laws, these are all the curses that will come to you. And that just made me realize that depending on your willpower, that's what's going to happen in your life. Like it says, the Lord will open the heavens, the storehouse of his bounty, to send rain down your land in season and to bless all the work of your hands. You will lend to many nations but borrow from none. The Lord will make you the head and not the tail. If you pay attention to the commands of the Lord that I give you this day and carefully follow them, you'll always be at the top, never at the bottom. Do not turn away from any of the commands I give you today, to the right or to the left, following other gods and serving them. However, if you do not obey the Lord your God and do not carefully follow all his commands and decrees I am giving you today, all these curses will come on you and overtake you. Because before, I think I was thinking that maybe the most important thing in life that you have, besides your purpose, is your actions that, shape what your future will be and shape how you can come into your purpose from God. But obviously, if your will isn't to take the right actions, then you won't take them and you won't get to where you need to be. So here it shows that if we get our willpower to not turn aside from the commands of God, not to the left or to the right, then that means we're guaranteeing for ourselves a successful life. But if our will doesn't agree with God's commandments, then we'll be disobedient and all those curses will come on us. But this is a whole chapter that's telling us that you can shape what will happen with your life. You can be cursed or you can be blessed, but it all depends on your will.
Excellent. Okay. Another person willing to speak? Okay. So, now the next question I have for you guys will be, what are the human achievements in human history that proves to us the power of the will? What are the human achievements that prove to us that the will is the most important, is the most powerful force that we've all got? What are the human achievements that prove to you that the willpower is the most important human possession? Please come. Anybody who's willing, come and tell us.
For me, the first thing that came to mind was, I can't remember what year it was in, but when in America, when Rosa Parks decided not to stand for the American man who told her to get off the bus because she was black, because she decided to stay in her seat, and although she got a lot of racist backlash from it, it made an impression on the whole society that just because of my skin color, I'm not gonna let that make me be treated in a different way because I'm human as well. So I think it kind of set an example for every other African American who was facing racism at the time, and even white Americans, that even though you may think that you're superior to us, we deserve the same things as you do, and we have rights as well. So that one decision kind of sparked a lot of protests and stuff, and
led to civil rights movement and revolution and the change in America. Good. Next one. Next person wants to say something? Come. Any human achievements that proves to us that the willpower is the most powerful thing a man possesses?
For me, I thought of Thomas Edison, because we read in your book, Life is an Opportunity, we found out more about him. I didn't know this before, but he was apparently really dumb, and even though he made his own inventions, his teachers used to think, told him that he was really dumb and he wouldn't get anywhere, but he continued to invent, and he continued to do what he loved, and he ended up being the creator of the light bulb, so it was his will that he kept on going. So against all the other odds and against what people were telling him, he wasn't listening to what people were telling him, and he was just doing what he believed was right.
And how many times did they fail before Thomas Edison, before he invented the lamp? 999 times. Does that tell you anything about willpower?
Yeah.
How many times do you try normally after failing?
Like 5.
4. Or like 5, huh?
Yeah.
Not in the hundreds? Not 500?
5.
You've never tried 500 times before?
No. I mean, I'll try to a certain extent, but I don't have that much willpower.
So is that the big lesson about willpower from Thomas Edison?
Yeah.
Almost 1,000 times. It worked out only the 1,000th time. Okay, who is the next person that wants to show us an example of that in the history of mankind that shows us that willpower is the most powerful thing we have? Anybody wants to tell us about that?
Come on.
You have to come out. Yeah, Sydney, come on.
Well, I think there's good examples and that there's bad examples. And for example, there's the example of the Reformation, like the Protestant Reformation, because I liked the examples of William Tyndale and of Martin Luther, and because Martin Luther was just one monk in the whole Catholic Church, and he decided that there was corruption. He saw there was corruption in the Catholic Church, and he decided that was totally wrong. That was totally against the Word of God, and he wanted to fight against that. Except that Catholicism was the law at the time, and so standing up against
the government.
Yeah, standing up against that was really, really like basically crazy. If you want to like have a happy life, then don't do that. But he did, and people even gave him like little chances to like, okay, just say that everything you've been saying so far has been a mistake, and then we'll forgive you. But he didn't. He kept on preaching what he thought was true, and he kept on telling people not to pay the priest's money to get out of hell or something, and not to say all these things that weren't in the Bible. And so then he was declared an outlaw. People weren't allowed to talk to him. People were like allowed to kill him and all of that. But still, he kept going. And then actually his situation did get better in the end. But actually he was just basically one man standing against like the whole country. But he still the whole world. But he still kept going, and now his influence seems even bigger than the Catholic Church right now. So
okay, is that a good example or bad example?
That was a good example. And there is a bad example of Hitler, because it's bad, but he really had an impact on the world, and nobody can deny that. And I think that is because of the extreme willpower he had. He had the really wrong ideas, and that's why I think that in the end, his movement collapsed. But it was something big, and it was something that we should learn from our mistakes, that you shouldn't found anything on hate. But still, even though first of all, after World War I, when Germany was defeated, he felt all humiliated, and he thought it was the Jews' fault and something. So he decided that he had to get rid of all the Jews in Germany, and he had such willpower for that. He just kept aggressively promoting that. He kept going on speeches, and he kept writing things, and he got jailed for that because he was criticizing the government. But while he was in jail, he wrote his most influential book. And after he came out of jail, he went in more and more and more and more, and he kept pursuing what he wanted to. And even though when he was first participating in the elections, he got really low votes at first. He kept going, and that's how he eventually got power. And he had to go through a lot. Because he was unpopular, of course, at first, of course, and he was already jailed once, and he was not like from a noble family or anything. He really didn't have much of a chance. But because he had such a willpower, though he had really morbid ideas, in the end, his willpower overcame everything else. All of the other people in society, all of those other people in the higher ranks, just through sheer willpower, he broke into power and did everything that he did. So, yeah.
That's the evil That is, even though the man has chosen to do evil, but even when you are having evil intention and you put your willpower to work, even evil people get things done. So if evil people will get things done, and God was there, why didn't God stop it? Why didn't God stop it? Because there was other human beings on the earth who also had willpower. Why didn't they? They were Jesus. God was not a participant of the life on earth. And Hitler was not having a supreme willpower. He had the same willpower like any other person. So why didn't the good people with good intentions use their own willpower too? To stop him and bring good and impose good upon the earth. That's why it was not God's business. You see, a lot of things on the earth that we say are wrong, and atheists use this a lot against God. And they say, okay, if there is God, why is it that wars are all over the place? Well, God is starting wars. And God is not a participant on the earth. It's not a physical being here that is in politics. It's not part of the politicians. And it's not part of, even everyday life on earth. I mean, it's not a physical presence here. So, but he has us here. He has humans here who he has given the willpower to do the opposite of what the bad people are doing. So why are you sitting in church? Why are you silent? Why are you not using your own willpower to counter what the devil is doing or what the bad guys are doing? Just like Pastor Chris was telling us about the sexual perversion yesterday. Why is she championing the crusade? Because she has a willpower to stop it. You don't just pray for God to come and stop it from heaven. But bad people are not praying to God, to Satan to come and do the bad things they are doing. They are just using their willpower and doing the evil things that they are doing. We can pray for God for help us, but we still need our own willpower to stand up and use that willpower to stop all the bad things that are happening in the world. So that's why I preach the gospel of the kingdom. And I believe that we are the ones who have the power to stop all the bad things that are happening in the world. You just have to know that God has already given us that power. He's given us the willpower.
Amen.
And we can stop all the evil. So you have to decide right now, what are the evil things that you want to stop? And that leads me to my next question. And maybe before I ask my next question, I must allow all of you to, because I know that Sydney still wants to talk. So, okay, Sydney, will you still want to tell us what you think?
Another person who was made a choice was Malala.
Malala, the young girl.
Yeah, who fought for girls'
How old are you now?
I'm 11.
Do you know how old she was when she did that?
Yeah, she was 11.
She was 11.
She fought for girls' education and was doing vlogs secretly without people knowing until she was exposed. And on her way back home on a bus, she got shot, and I think I'm not sure which eye got damaged, but one of her eyes got damaged. But she kept on fighting for girls' education, and it was able to happen.
Beautiful. Any other person want to tell us other examples of how willpower is changing our world and is making our world the way we have it right now? Okay, no more answers. Then next question to all of you. My next question is, now that you have discovered that willpower is the most powerful power you have, that there is no more powerful thing you have than willpower. Now that you have discovered that willpower is the greatest power you have, you tell me, what do you want to use your willpower to accomplish on the earth? What would you like to use your willpower to do? If it is the most important power and you have it, you don't need to look for it from God. God already gave it to you. You don't need to look for it from Satan. Satan doesn't have anything to do with it. You already have God willpower. You don't need to pray about it. You don't need to fast about it. You don't need to read the Bible for it. You already have the willpower. What do you want to use that power to accomplish on the earth, please?
Well, I just think that's an amazing opportunity, that we have that will in us and that we can use this amazing power for anything that we put our minds to. So I think that the first thing that I should do is that, well, because of this, a lot of like things that I've heard all my life, they kind of like take root. Because like you hear things like, tell yourself something, tell yourself things over and over, and you'll see it become true. And I've heard that many times, and I've been like, yeah, you keep believing that. Yeah, you keep saying things to yourself. And I was like, how does that even work? How do you say things to yourself over and over and they come to be? No, that's just wasting your time. But now I see that, okay, if you say something to yourself over and over, it becomes your reality, and your will is to make that reality more than just something you see, but into this world, but to come into this world, then it really will come into this world. So I want to maximize that ability in me so that I can be able to work on myself in the spheres that I need to. Because even if my spirit is willing, my flesh can be weakened, but if I work on my willpower to have like a heightened will to work where I need to work on myself, then I can, like you said, aggressively work on myself so that I can achieve the success that I need to in my purpose. And then that way I can go out into the world, and I know that my will, which is to like head the crusade and to just promote just aggressively promote the truth of God in this world, if that is my will, and I've worked on myself, and first my will was to work on myself so that I could become perfect enough to promote God's will in the world. And if I go out into the world that way, then I know that nobody will be able to stop me. So I think that I should start.
What are the things you want to use apart from developing yourself? What are the things you want to accomplish? You want to use your will to accomplish on the earth, to do.
Okay, so
concretely. You have to name them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, I want to start some maybe organizations or programs that will educate people, that will propagate the right ideas in society. So, in Hitler's case, for example, there was the idea that we're the best and we should eliminate everybody else because we're the strongest, and that way we'll have a perfect society because only the strong people are left. But I know that everybody is made in God's image, so I want to create organizations that propagate the fact that we are created for a purpose. We need to realize that and live on that, and then go out and achieve our full greatness in the world.
Okay. Another thing you want to use your willpower to accomplish on the earth? Or any other person wants to talk? Yeah, please.
I think for me, in the short term, is I could use it to like get good grades and stuff in university. But in the long term, the two things that I really want to like put all my energy into, firstly, is becoming like a successful author, because I have so many book ideas that I could write, but I just haven't, because I'm like, oh, I need to research more, or I haven't planned this out enough. But I know I can write them, so I want to start like putting all my energy into writing those and getting them like good to like publish and stuff. And secondly, I have like a really big passion for like helping young girls who are involved in like trafficking and who are like being like abused and put into situations against their own will. So I think for me, I'd want to either be involved in an organization or start something that can like help them get out of that and like bring them back into the girls that God created them to be, and like help them realize that they are not just like objects for people to use, and that they are created in God's image. And like I just want to like be a part of something that helps girls to be like more confident in themselves, especially if they've gone through that kind of thing.
Okay. Another thing that you like to use your willpower to accomplish?
Maybe to like set up my own business for something, because I don't know, I just have so many ideas about what I want to do in my life. But
okay, why don't I ask all of you right now to take your pen while she is talking and while other people will be talking, to write down your own answers. What are the things that you would like to use your willpower, since that is the biggest thing you need? You don't need the money is not the biggest power you need. Influence is not the biggest power you need on the earth. People is not the biggest thing you need. Connection is not the biggest thing you need. Even God is not the biggest thing you need. Even prayers is not the biggest thing you need. You need God. So why do you need God then? God is the ultimate. You need God so that God will keep you straight. You need God so that you will do His will. You are ultimately His servant and His son and His image and His representation. So you need Him to keep on feeding off Him. You need God for your continuous survival. You need God to keep on giving you more grace, more ideas, and more ability to do more things. You need God as your source. But I'm saying, even without God, you have the willpower already. God already giving you the power that you need to accomplish anything. Even if you choose to reject God, you still have that power to even choose to reject God. But you will not, because we know we are children of God, and as children of God, we are here to use our willpower to do what? To accomplish God's purpose. But you don't need to keep on waiting on God to do anything, because God already gave you the power. And the most important power is what He already gave you. But you remember, that willpower comes from Him. That's why when you reject God, you have consequences. Evil consequences, bad consequences. But your willpower is to do God's will and God's purpose on the earth. So right now, I want you to look into the world and see what are the things that you want to use your willpower to accomplish or to change for the better. And also, while you are writing that, remember that this willpower was given to you by God. So it must be used for what purpose, first of all? For God's purpose, first of all. To glorify who, first of all? Yourself? God. So you must always bear that in mind. But you don't wait and stop and wait for God doing nothing because you want God to come do it for you. That would be wrong use, because that would be neglecting what God already gave you to use to do these things. God already gave you the willpower, which is the most important power in the world. So for you now to go to church and say, I'm waiting for God to come and do it, it's not to understand God. It's not to understand yourself, and it's not to understand the world. So you don't have the right to go and be waiting for God to come do something while He gave you the power to do it. So if you want to wait on God for anything, it's just to wait for direction, to wait for wisdom, but not to wait, actually, but to actually seek for wisdom, direction, but while you are busy doing what He already gave you the power to do. So I want all of you to make a list, make your own list of maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, of all the things you could use. If you have this awesome power in you, what are the things you would like to use it to change? Write it. You are not writing anything. You've got to write the things that you would like to improve in the world. the things that are not right in the world, and the things that that can be fixed in the world through your willpower. Yeah, keep on going. You talked about a few things, but if you see you have anything you would like to change in the world or improve, thanks to your willpower.
I think apart from those, doing something that could, I think another thing that I could do would be like using my talents in like writing and poetry and stuff to like promote the creative professions more and show that, because I know that in the world, especially with like African parents and stuff, there's like, they only focus on the professions that have like stable, high-paying jobs attached to them, but all the other, like the entertainment industry, film, fashion, music, all of that, they're just as important as the more conservative jobs. So if I could like do something, be it by my writing and poetry or just like being, I don't know, a business person in those fields, I think I'd like to just like use that to promote the importance of those industries as well as the more conservative and like lucrative ones.
Okay. Any other person want to tell us what he wants to use his willpower to accomplish in the world, please?
I would use it for children's education.
Wow.
And also to build more hospitals around the world. And also for children's health and also adults' health, and to also bring fresh water to countries to like poor countries.
Beautiful, beautiful. Joy, you want to say something? Yes, please come.
Thank you.
Since you've discovered the greatest power you have in the world is your willpower, you can even use it to reject God. But what do you want it to do? What are the positive things you want to use it for?
I want to become a scientist and help people with my inventions, and I want to help the needy children, and I want bad things to stop happening, and like diseases and stuff, to help stop making bad things happen. And I want to help the people who are trying their best to take care of the world.
Beautiful. Beautiful, because science and being a scientist, Joy, is one of the greatest ways you could help the world. Most of these people that you see here, they are all scientists, most of them, because they are able to invent things and bring solutions to the world that resolve the suffering of the world population. So beautiful. That's a good way to use your willpower. You can use your willpower to solve the problems of the world through science. Any other person want to do that? Okay. What do you want to use your willpower to accomplish in the world?
So what I want to use my willpower for, I want to put a hospital in every slum area, like Brazil and India and all those places. And because I want to be a doctor, I want to be able to like have a cure for all types of cancers and heart diseases. And I want to help people with skin diseases as well, leprosy.
So you want to be a doctor that cures those things, or you want to be a doctor that finds solution for those things? because there is a difference. If you want to find solution to all kinds of cancer, that is like being a scientist doctor, a doctor researcher. That's not just being a doctor, but that's being a researcher to research and being a scientist to find solutions to those things. But if you want to just be a doctor, that's just going to cure them. Which one do you think you want to do?
The researcher.
Research doctor, yeah. Research doctor is the person that finds the solution. So, because when it's time for you to go to university, it's important for you to choose well. To choose well what you want to do. That what I want to do is not just to be a doctor, medical school, and just go and heal people. That's different. But I want to be a researcher. So that is totally different. That's going to a research institute where you specialize in medical research, and then you find solutions to those things. That is much more powerful than just going to work as a doctor. And then you bring solution and you'll be able to resolve that question. Very good. Yes, please.
For me, in my personal life and like with what I want to do with my life, I want to have the will to continue to search for companies, music production companies where I can volunteer at, because I've been looking for them and they're really hard to find, and I just give up. But after a while, I always go back to it because that's what I really want to do. But obviously, it starts from, you need to start small, so that's why I wouldn't start volunteering. But it's been really hard for me because I search for hours at a time, but then I always give up, and I never end up seeing places, or I see places and I email them. The amount of companies I've actually emailed is a lot, and they either don't get back to me. No, that's it. They just don't get back to me. So it's just I just want to have the will to continue doing it because this is really what I want to do. But also for something that's a burden of mine is racism. I really want to fight against racism, even though I know that it's going to be really hard. And also, also colorism, because
What?
Colorism.
What's colorism?
Is basically the belief that the lighter you are, the better.
Oh, okay.
So it's just, so like the darker you are, it's, you know, because black people were like monkeys and stuff like that. So it's just something that I feel really strongly about. I want to fight against it, even though I know it's going to be hard, but I want to have the willpower to do it rather than complain about it all the time.
So you want to use your willpower to change the picture of racism in the world.
Yeah.
And then to bring about industry, music production.
Yeah.
Very good. Any other person want to say anything? What you want to use your willpower to do? If you are not coming up here, you must write those things down. Make sure you write as many points as possible down, or whatever is in your heart. Write down the things that you would like to use, because I just told you the willpower is the most important power you have. It's the most important power in the world. Yeah, and it's in you. You don't need to look for it in Brazil, in Africa, or anywhere. You don't need to go to heaven to find it. It's right in you. So if the willpower is the most important power in the world, and it's right in yourself, in you, what do you want to use that power to do? I thought you were here before. Yeah. Okay, you are raising your hand? Okay, let's listen to him first. By the way, if there are some people watching us on Facebook, and let us hear your experience. If you're an adult or you're a parent, let's hear your feedbacks. Let's hear your opinions. Let's hear what you are thinking about, what you are hearing, and this HMT we are doing. Yes, please.
Okay. Just like you said about the black people the black guys who came here from 10 years ago, people today still tend to follow the masses. Like the other day, last week, a footballer was transferred to a new club and was revealed to be earning £500,000 per week.
From where?
I think Neymar Jr.
In Ukraine?
No.
What happened? Tell us again. Say that again.
I said last week, a footballer was transferred to a new club, and it's revealed that he's going to be earning £500,000 per week.
A week?
Yes.
So why are you saying that? What's that? What's that about?
So my roommate, when he heard this, like, even though he's studying chemical engineering, he like immediately shouted that I must learn this ball. Like, my children must learn this.
To play football?
Yes, yes.
Why?
Because he heard about this this guy who is earning this amount of money. So even though he's a chemical engineer, or he's studying to be a chemical engineer, he has already like changed his whole perspective, and he wants to already move into football. Like, also, even a new trend now is being like a YouTuber.
A what?
YouTuber.
Why?
Like, YouTuber now is like granting people instant social media fame. And suddenly I see new people join YouTube every day because people just want to like have instant fame, I feel. And because they see that other people are having this fame through YouTube, that they join YouTube. So what I want to change is the mentality that people have to follow the trend and go with what is earning money, for them to stick with their initial purpose.
Okay.
I want to use my willpower to help create like a business or a school to help people who have ideas but don't know where or how to start. And let it be like a platform to help them with support and training.
That is so key. That's so important. So important.
But before this, I have in mind to invent at least two things, because apart from the fact that these two things I have in mind to invent will help people, will help benefit the society, I feel that people wouldn't want to come to a school or training where the owner didn't put into practicality what he or she teaches. So that is...
What are the things you want to invent? Do you know them yet?
Yes, but that's like a secret for now.
Okay. So, but what are those two things going to give you or do for you? Are they going to give you money or just recognition or fame or more things?
Yeah, recognition and fame, yes.
Okay. Because you need the recognition and fame for what?
As I said, because I feel that when I finally make the company or the business, the training, where I try to invite people who have ideas but don't know where to start, I feel that like people won't want to come to a place where, like, maybe they can see the advert on their when they are browsing, that if you have an idea, you don't know where to start or how to start, come to me. But you now go and try to research the person, but the person doesn't appear to have done anything or achieved anything. So why would you, who hasn't achieved anything, try to teach me to achieve something? Yeah.
But if you're a Mark Zuckerberg and you say you want to help anybody achieve their dream, will it be easier for someone like Mark Zuckerberg to be able to galvanize people around himself and gather people and they will believe him? Is it easier for people to believe Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates than somebody who didn't achieve anything?
Yes, I feel it's easier, yes.
So you want to use that strategy?
Yes.
Invent things like Mark Zuckerberg invented, and then after that you'll be able to, that will become the platform for you to be able to carry out your ultimate vision.
Yes.
Of helping people to fulfill their calling.
Yes.
Beautiful. Very good. Well, I think our time is up. Our time is up for now. So do I need to come back at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock or no? Not today? What's your program like? Because I thought I saw myself twice.
Yes.
What's the second time? What was the second time? When am I coming back?
After lunch from 2.
What after lunch? Am I coming back at 2 o'clock?
No, 3, sorry.
You look confused. I'm coming back at 3.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm coming back at 3 to be with you. That's what I just heard. When am I coming back? 9. Okay, then tell me 9. So, okay. So, remember where we stopped? We've only done will. We've only done will. We still need to do mind, emotions, feelings, in soul. Yes. Any question? And this is just the first question. There are 7 questions. You are only in the first one, huh? You forgot, the most important thing we are examining is the 7 questions, the 7 most vital questions of life. And we're only answering 1 right now. And then after we answer 1, then we'll go to 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7. I hope I have enough time to be able to finish all that before Friday. Well, but in the evenings, I'm only talking about the truth. But during the day, if I have more time, if they give me more time, I will come back.
Yes, Pastor, I think you can continue. We can take 5-minute break, then we'll continue to lunch too.
Well, follow your program. When you are ready, let me.
Just break.
Break till when?
Till 2.
Yeah, but so they need the break.
Yes, we can take 5-minute break, then you can continue.
5 minutes break? No, they are kids. No. Let them go and take their rest. Let them go and, just follow the schedule. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody on Facebook. We'll be back tonight.